Alternative Experience Podcast. Excellent. Okay, so hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Alternative Experience. As always, I'm Nicky Eddivane and thank you for tuning in. So this week's episode is a big one. I have an extremely exciting guest for you all. I've been following this incredible human being for a number of months now on various forms of social media, and I'm really, really happy to have her on the show. Her name is Tammy Pettigrew, aka the Cannabis Cutie. She is a California-based cannabis advocate, educator, public speaker, mainly with a focus on cannabis science, business, history, and also debunking the seamlessly countless myths surrounding this amazing plant. So it seems like she's on a very similar path to us, which is awesome. I will include all of her social media links in the bio. However, if you do want to look for her, you can find her Instagram under the Cannabis Cutie or her website, which is cannabiscutie.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please let me welcome to the show Tammy, aka the Cannabis Cutie.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for the awesome introduction.
No problem at all. No worries at all. Always a pleasure. So, obviously, as mentioned before, I have been sort of following you for some time now. I think the first time I did see you was on the Herb, which is obviously where you've just been on, which is great. And although obviously the States, things have obviously progressed a lot more than they have here in the UK, you do seem to be on a very similar path to myself. So I've really sort of been keen to have this conversation with you. Just really wanted to ensure that I brought my A game to it. So that's why it took me a little while to reach out. But anyway, I did at least reach out. Hopefully I bring my A game too. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you accepting my offer. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
No problem at all. So how are you finding things in these completely nutty times?
I'm just trying to stay the course and stay focused on what I'm doing and try not to pay too much attention or get too emotionally invested with everything that's happening because it's pretty crazy out there.
Oh, it's totally insane. I think it's definitely sort of testing times for us all. So what kind of measures are you guys facing at the moment? Are you under any sort of kind of lockdowns? Are you completely open? How are you restricted?
So California is still kind of half open, half closed. So my gym, for example, is still closed, although some other places have opened. The schools have finally opened back up as of about a month ago. So we're slowly starting to open our economy back up, but California is definitely one of the last states in the union that has opened in the United States.
Fair enough. We've actually gone back into some lockdown measures this week, which is a little bit disappointed. We've kind of gone backwards a little bit. I actually went out on the weekend. It was completely bizarre. Very strange experience, to be quite honest. I don't think I'll be doing that again for a while. Not until some sort of normality is potentially sort of returned. But have you been out at all? You've been out to any restaurants, bars? What's the experience been like?
No, I think I went to a restaurant a couple months ago and then they shut restaurants down again in my county. So most restaurants are outdoor only and I kind of just like, I can just take it home. So I haven't really been too social yet.
No, that's fair enough. I'll be honest, I'm not that social anyway. It was. I went out for a friend's 40th birthday. It was kind of like, I don't go out to bars too often, but yeah, it was very, very sort of a surreal sort of experience. So before we go into sort of too much more detail, can I just ask you to introduce yourself to the listeners, a bit of your background, expertise, a bit about how you found yourself on this exciting journey as it is?
Yeah, so for me, I began using cannabis my freshman year at Oklahoma State University, which was my undergraduate college. And from there, I kind of learned that this plant was helping me in ways that I could not explain. And I had brought a lot of people to the plant, so I had always been advocating for it. And then when I went to graduate school at the University of Miami, I was pretty much certain I would be going into cannabis.
Sure.
I just didn't know how. And it kind of led to when I was learning about the plant, I would go look for other sources of information. They just didn't exist in a simple way at all. So that's kind of when I created the idea to just start making easy to understand content about cannabis that maybe people would be interested in knowing or that I thought they should know. So that kind of landed me to making the Cannabis Cutie, and here I am today.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to have you here. It's absolutely superb. Same sort of thing with myself, really, is I started actually using it myself recreationally years ago. And then started using CBD sort of medically. But again, just one of these people wants to know why it's working and what it's doing. And once I started, I sort of couldn't stop, really. It's one of those very, very addictive addictive sort of subjects. And again, there's so much more to learn and so much more to pass on. And I think also that as well, passing the information on, because we found it so hard in the first place. So obviously at the start, your passion was recreational use. I mean, was there any sort of influence in those days, or was it just a case of partaking with your friends, etc., when you first got into it?
I had my freshman year in college, I got a zero point 0.8 GPA, which is, I mean, like, what was I doing? And the answer was not much. I was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety. And there was a kid on my floor he always smelled like a bag of weed, like just smelled. And he ended up making the honor roll, and he was always happy. Yeah. And for me, and he was one of my friends. So for me, that was kind of the turning point of where I was like, all right, now I need to try this. And so when I did, it changed everything. I was able to feel more hopeful, less anxiety. I was able to study because I had less anxiety, and I was able to sleep better because of this. And just socially, I was able to participate more. So there was all of these positives, and then my GPA went up. So that for me was how I got to the plant, was just by watching my friend do it all the time and him be successful.
Amazing. I think there's so many stories like that. I mean, mine was very similar. It was just one of those things that brought some of my sort of, I would say, negative personality traits down a little, maybe a much better person. So I think obviously it's nice to meet somebody else that's also wanted to dig deeper into the science, because there's so many, especially recreational cannabis users, there's so many that don't seem to want to know the science at all. They just like to get high. I mean, what do you think made you different?
I don't think that we have that right to just want to get high, especially in America where so many people are sitting in cells. You have I believe you have the right to learn the information as to why you love this plant and why you use it so much and why it benefits you. And it can't just be because it's totally cool or, whatever. It has to be fact-based in order to get people to understand that it's more than just some recreational fun. And I honestly believe that even if you're using it recreationally, you're actually using it medicinally, because you have an endocannabinoid system. So that's just kind of my opinion on it.
Definitely. And I think also, like you said, because of the lack of sort of mainstream support and mainstream knowledge, it's also up to people like us to try and pass or debunk some of those things for people that aren't sort of exposed to it, and maybe get that education out there and really try and get the wider sort of public to realize they can actually also benefit from it in so many ways. And maybe at some point it will get to that in the UK. I don't know. We're quite far behind. Obviously, we've got the CBD, and I think we'll be happy with that for the time being, and just be criminals every time we light up a joint. So in the States, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, obviously, I get to see my community, like people like yourself, and it's a very good attitude towards it. But what is the general attitude towards cannabis in the States? I mean, is it widely accepted? Is it widely misunderstood still? Is it somewhere in between?
Yeah, I think it's in between. I mean, we have 33 states plus Washington, D.C. that has medical cannabis. And then we have 11 states plus Washington, D.C. that has adult use. Okay. So the overwhelming majority of the union has adopted some sort of legislation, but the lack of understanding is mind-blowing. People are just assuming that it's another vice like alcohol, not realizing that this plant actually fits our body so well, and that it's not poisoning us the way that alcohol is. That's literally poisoning your body. So even though, the U.S. is seeming to come to terms with some medicinal benefits, they don't know how. And I think that's kind of a really big issue. And it's why we have such bad legislation in some states.
I think it's also a massive issue when you've got, I think they did a poll in America as an example. And again, a very good example, because it's a very large a country with so many different states, etc. But 13% of doctors are actually even exposed to the endocannabinoid system. I mean, the most important medical discovery ever. I know it's only 30 years, but that's ludicrous.
Yeah, definitely the most, exciting scientific discovery of our lifetime. And only 18% are being exposed. And this is the system that regulates all of the systems. So we're not even looking at like the central component. And then, you wonder why we're so bad at dealing with certain issues, because we're not even looking at the culprit.
Exactly. And I think that's when you start looking at the kind of the side of things where people think it's being suppressed, that is a big sort of I think it's a big sort of sign that it is being suppressed, because, as you say, it is involved in every single sort of function within the body in some way, shape, or form. And it's for that alone, it should be being sort of hammered across in mainstream medicine. And I know there's a lot of research going in, but there needs to be so much more exposure to general people, because there's so many benefits that people could have. I mean, with that scarcity of information, where do you source your educational information at the moment, and how do you go about fact checking it?
So for me, I like to read a lot of medical journals. Unfortunately, because it's Schedule 1 in the United States, cannabis, we are not allowed to research cannabis, and we're not allowed to prescribe it, the doctors. So I do read a lot of medical journals out of Israel. I have taken other cannabis courses in the industry, just trying to learn from different perspectives, listening to speakers, reading books. I do everything that I can, and I try to double check things. For instance, when I learned that the United States or the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper, I thought that was amazing because it came from Jack Herer, and it's actually incorrect. So no. I have learned that you do have to double check things.
And that's the thing. Is, I mean, I had the same thing. I had a couple of early podcasts where I said a few of the same sort of similar facts, and again, I did get fact checked. And you try not to make that mistake again. Very difficult when obviously the information is so well hidden. But like you say, I tend to find myself reading. I've got very good at reading a medical paper, which 2 years ago I had no idea. But I'm knee deep in them now. And I've also got this thing called the CHAI Guide, the Cannabis Health Index. Highly recommend it.
The CHAI Guide.
Yeah. So if this one here, I mean, it's not dated. Cannabis Health Index, CHAI Guide. It's not that it's dated. Obviously, there's so much has been sort of discovered in the last 2 years that obviously there's more research now. But again, that research is, as we know, it's all on animals, and we can't really quote it, even though it's very, very positive stuff. So, if you don't mind me asking your thoughts on the history of like the cannabis criminalisation. Again, I know that you're very, very well focused on obviously the people that are, like you say, behind bars for this amazing plant, and obviously if we go right back to how it was made illegal in the first place. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, who do you think was behind it? I mean, I know there's a story, but give me your take on it.
My take on it is there was a man who was a failed alcohol prohibitionist, and he needed a new target. And cannabis was never anything that was on his radar, but he chose cannabis and he demonized it. And one way to demonize it was to play on the xenophobia that was really high around Mexicans around the time. So Mexicans started coming to America, fleeing the Mexican Revolution in 1910, 1911. And they called cannabis by a different name. And in the United States, we started calling it marijuana to play at that xenophobia and to scare Americans into believing that they're bringing this nuisance and this evil. And then they also attributed to these Black men who were musicians that were playing satanic music, which is jazz music current today.
Ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous.
Yeah, and they also said that this plant was causing white women to sleep with Black men, and that's how Black men were using it. So they played on a lot of the ideals surrounding people of color at the time, and it was successful. And even though cannabis was the number 3 medicine in the 40s, they successfully got it abolished.
It's incredible. I think obviously if you go, I mean, there's obviously a few influences that I think probably pushed him into it as well. But like you say, that story is one that I tell. I told somebody on a podcast as well, and some of the quotes from Harry J. Anslinger, as it were, and they were quite eye-opening. Again, very, very sort of racially sort of motivated. And again, also at the same time, you had 30 of the top sort of pharmacists from the American Medical Association coming out with papers actually discrediting what he was saying, and he just sort of brushed it under the carpet. So it kind of gives you a bit of an idea on the sort of tactics. And unfortunately, it's like you say, it's very easy for them to play on fear with people that aren't educated. And I think that's why the internet's hopefully gonna help us get a bit of a message out there to people that maybe don't really understand. So obviously we've got this incredible plant that produces these amazing compounds, cannabinoids, and we also have this unbelievably intricate system the endocannabinoid system. Why do you think it's still kind of unknown to mainstream medicine and obviously the wider public?
I think in America, there's a lot of reasons. You have, doctors are kind of trained with the pharmaceutical model in mind, and that's one indication, one molecule to fix it. And this one molecule should be one size fits all for everyone,
Yeah.
or there's a list of adverse reactions. So if we were to start retraining people on, plants and herbs, that would take a lot of money away from that industry. So I think that's a big reason why we're not talking about the endocannabinoid system. And I have even read in literature, in books, in schools that, there's no fact that this endocannabinoid system is as powerful as it says it is. So I think that it's kind of, it's a financial decision for us, unfortunately.
Definitely. And I think the financial decision's twofold, because I think when you understand things like the endocannabinoid system and also immune systems and things like that, then you take away patients, as we call them, but customers, as they call them. So if you literally make people well, then they want to treat symptoms. They don't want to cure issues. Yeah.
Right. They need you as a customer for life.
Exactly.
Especially if you get diagnosed with some disease that's going to last forever. You are now a customer, and that's what they want. They do not want you to heal. Correct.
And it's funny as well, because on this journey, I mean, I've gone into the gut-brain connection. And I've started doing some stuff with, in fact, another book, shameless plug, that I bought recently. It's called The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. And that's incredible. I mean, that goes into so many different types. I mean, in fairness, I've actually got about 4 or 5 books from the same person. But again, you look at this and you just see how easy and straightforward and that it can be to, like I say, get yourself to a position where you don't actually need these sort of pharmaceuticals, which also compound it even further. They're petrol based, and they actually further affect our immune system and our endocannabinoid system. So.
Exactly.
So, I mean, obviously the ECS, I mean, it blows my mind. I think it's quite clear to say. I mean, every day I try and research something new on it if I can, or at least go deeper into something that I'm already looking into. And its reach is kind of unbelievable, really. I mean, the more I read. So I'm pretty confident that's something that you share. But let's talk about what kind of functions or actions that amaze you about both the ECS and also how cannabis can interact with that system.
I think it just amazes me that, we have this system of locks in our bodies, and that there's only one particular set of key that can fit in these locks, and that the cannabis plant is a replica of these keys that, are also in our bodies, but we don't produce enough keys. So it's like nature has the secret for us to unlock all of these locks in our bodies. So that fascinates me the most. And, it helps with everything: sleep, temperature, mood, appetite. I still can't fully wrap my head around it, even though I work on this and I study this every day. I know that if there's something that I'm feeling, that somehow cannabis can probably help it, because there are receptor sites there.
100%. Yeah, it's incredible. That's the sort of tact I take. 'Cause in the UK, I mean, it's probably, I wouldn't say it's any worse anywhere else in the world, but I think because we have still got that complete sort of illegal approach to cannabis. Obviously, I have to go into people, and even with CBD, I'm trying to explain that they're like, well, how does it affect my sleep, and how am I hearing things that it might potentially be good for anti-tumor and all these unrelated systems? And I'm kind of like trying to bring it back to it's not necessarily the cannabinoids. It is this amazing system. But obviously these cannabinoids that we've been found to sort of work with it relatively seamlessly with their own sort of benefits they bring to the party as well. And that's the sort of I think the uphill struggle we've got. But once you get that across to people, it really does work. I've had some really quite amazing turnarounds with some people, even my cousin.
Right.
But he recently had MRSA, which is a very, very bad superbug. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yes. I know. So I lived with someone that had MRSA.
Oh, yeah. It's so bad. And he's had it for 12 months, and he's been going to and fro from a private hospital as well. So it wasn't even the NHS. They've just given him antibiotic after antibiotic, getting stronger and stronger. And it's not getting any better. And I had some resistant. I had some pure CBG, like literally sort of like the tar. Within 2 days, it cleared up. And that was 8 weeks ago. It's not returned at all. And
yeah,
I don't know. It just needs.
That's awesome.
Just want to get this in front of people. It's just so difficult to do so. So yeah,
Well, it's amazing that he had a friend that had that information,
uh,
that knew that CBG is great at combating, antibiotic resistant staph infections.
exactly. And the only reason that came to is that the course I did last year, and there was two things that stuck out: that and the intraocular pressure. Which I
Hmm.
think you've done a podcast on yourself.
Yeah.
I was actually I was lucky enough to stay on a CBG hemp plant last year, Biosphere in Valencia, and they
Hmm.
have CBG high hemp, and we made some smoothies, some raw smoothies.
Nice.
Oh, it was incredible. They were quite potent, quite strong in flavour. But one of the women we were staying with, she won't mind me saying, she's blind as a bat, and within about 10 minutes, she had to take her glasses off. Her eyesight was like very clear, and that lasted for about 4 hours. And
Wow.
it's insane. I mean, just these sort of things. And again, I think whether you're sort of like an advocate and a consumer or not, I think we need to definitely sort of try and remove the unwarranted stigma around it. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, it's left or fortunately, actually, it's left to people like you and I and the power of the internet to try and do that. I just wish
Yes.
it was being shouted from a few more rooftops over here.
Amen.
So, do you guys actually have any problems with getting your message out there in the States? I mean, in the UK, we can't promote CBD on Facebook. We can't pay for advertising. SEO on Google's banned. So you can't sort of optimize your sites, etc. Are you having the same issues there?
Yeah, definitely. Facebook is not friendly at all to cannabis. I have had my page deleted once on Instagram. So it can be difficult. You have to deal with shadow banning and people reporting your content and getting it removed and fighting to get it back. So definitely have some uphill battles. They're not making it easy on us. Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yeah.
And do you have the same financial problems out there as well? Because here you can't make payments, as an example, banking, PayPal.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing. No banking, payment processors. If they find out you're selling like CBD, they can shut you down and, keep your funds. So there's so many things you have to not put canna or hemp or anything in your business name because that's, automatically going to make you a target. But same issues there too.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I went down the route of
Yeah.
calling my business Natural Health Alternatives, which is good because it's not got CBD or cannabis in it, but it's not good when you're writing your email address. It's massive. Uh, so
Exactly.
I'll learn from that one for next time. I mean, is it still like that in California? Because a lot of people that I sort of see on the internet are sort of obviously talking about it being quite free there with regards to cannabis use, or how is it? Is it still quite?
So in certain cities, so Los Angeles, Oakland, San Francisco, definitely, you can smoke in public and probably not have too many issues. Where I live in Orange County, it's a bit different, much more conservative, one of the most conservative places in the country. They do not care for it that much. So, but it is nice to be able to go to Los Angeles and to the beach and, be able to smoke in nature and not have to worry about, being put in jail.
Oh, bloody
So,
one day. I dream of it all
yeah.
the time. I don't ever see it happening here. Not as quickly as I'd like it to, because they're. I mean, I think we're the biggest world's biggest exporter of cannabis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we have a company called GW Pharmaceuticals,
Yes.
or British Sugar.
Epidiolex.
Exactly. Yeah, so they are the world's largest exporter of something that they've locked many people up for actually dealing, which is quite ironic, really.
Very ironic. Wow.
So slight change of direction. What's your sort of favorite methods of consumption?
I love a good hemp blunt. Blunts are just like a treat. If not, I'll just kind of go with a joint. But I also dab. I've gotten back into using glass and bongs. So I'm trying to diversify my use. Edibles, every now and then I'll do edibles. I just kind of sometimes don't want to be high for 4 hours. So
I was gonna say,
mostly smoking though.
yeah, I was gonna say the concentrates are quite they're sort of reserved for the time when you've got a whole evening to yourself. You haven't really got any responsibilities or anywhere to be at any
Right.
particular time. Yeah, I've not done too many of the sort of the glass stuff here. We don't really get too much of it, but I have heard some stories where you got to be a little bit careful with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know Joe Rogan goes on it about quite often. I think he's gone to different dimensions on it, and he's done DMT, as we all know.
Oh wow! Wow. That's
So,
impressive.
so what does the typical day in the cannabis cuties world look like?
Man, so I'm also a mom, so getting kids off to school is, how my morning starts, but I always meditate twice a day. I try to do something physical, whether it's a workout or just a walk. And then a lot of strategic planning and content creating. And I read a lot of books as well. I'm actually starting a book club.
Awesome.
And this is a really good book for the American pot story when it comes to the war on drugs and kind of the ramifications. And it's been a very wild story. But my book club that I'm starting is called the Higher Learning Book Club, and we're going to be reading about America's pot story. And it is written by Martin A. Lee, and it is called Smoke Signals. So I'm excited to now all of the reading that I do kind of get together with a group of like-minded cannabis advocates, business owners, enthusiasts, thinkers. So that's kind of what my day looks like.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. No, it's very similar here. I mean, I'm working from home. I'd say have children, drop them off first of all. Also meditate. I've lived by it. I've just recently done a yoga breath course, so I'm going to be coaching that as well. Which that's been a massive eye opener. Very very sort of very straightforward. 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the afternoon, 2 minutes at night. Just getting you into the right nervous system. Right. So apparently, as far as I've been told, apparently we're all in fight or flight, basically 12, 18 hours a day, which is definitely not healthy. And I've noticed the difference in just a few months of doing that, but I think that's definitely a very important thing. And again, the reading side of things, I do the audio books because I'm a little bit lazy and I tend to do it while I'm doing something. But the same sort of thing, got to be sort of learning something new every day.
Right, absolutely.
100%.
I agree.
Okay, so that's actually dealt with the next section I was on there. I was going to say about meditation, but do you use any other kind of supplements? Any other, whether they be natural or any other supplements you take on a daily basis?
No, I mostly cordyceps, actually. I do use cordyceps.
Yeah.
So lion's mane is one of my favorite, reishi, chaga as well. I use those, which I think are really positive on mood. And then, it's been kind of difficult during quarantine to eat healthy with the kids. And it just seems like being home, there's so much more laundry and work to do. But typically I eat a balanced diet, and those I don't really like to supplement. If I can just get all of everything that I need from my food, I'm fine. But that's really all I do is kind of cannabis and cordyceps.
Oh, fair. But the chaga you mentioned about the mushrooms, I've been using this. Is it Four Sigmatic mushroom coffees?
Yes, that's what I drink every morning.
It's great, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. In fairness, actually I've just actually secured my own one very similar that I'm going to be sort of very soon going to be putting in my store as well, which is amazing. But I'm also going to be selling the Four Sigmatic because I live by it. It's something I have first thing in the morning. It gets me going. And it's really strange because I've never been somebody that gets that sort of weird feeling on coffee, but it's very straight. It does give you like a definite boost without any kind of. It's just very, very sort of steady, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah. I don't get the anxiety and the jittery that I sometimes get from coffee.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was getting anxious on coffee until I started doing the Four Sigmatic cordyceps coffee.
Yeah, you notice the difference when it's one of those things until you take it out of the sort of the daily routine, you don't actually notice what it's been doing.
Yeah, agreed.
I also drink. If you drank any of the fermented drinks like kombucha or kefir, have you sort of experienced any of those?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of more so the kefir than I am kombucha. The vinegar can kind of be a bit strong for me.
To me, it tastes a little bit like scrumpy cider, which is an English cider.
Okay.
So again, it's an acquired taste. So some people would be like, yeah, lovely. Other people would be like, oh, that's not nice.
Yeah.
I actually have a drinks line of kefir with CBD. So CBD kefir line that we sell. But that came off the back of me doing the gut brain sort of connectivity and just really sort of learning about probiotics, prebiotics, and so that kind of that's where that came from. But yeah, I'm all about that kind of stuff, really. I mean, I do take vitamin D, but you guys don't need it because you've got the sun. We don't have a sun here,
Correct.
So we have to.
Yeah, I've been to London twice, and both times I think I got a little bit of sunshine. But
it's a shame we've been on lockdown because this year since March, we've had beautiful sun that has literally turned about a week ago.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's the one time, but in fairness, it helped because we had a garden. But I feel sorry for the people that were living in sort of flats or apartments, as you guys call it.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what else does Tammy like? Is there any? Have you got like a specific podcast you listen to? Are there any people out there you can recommend to anybody? Again, not necessarily cannabis related. It could be anything at all.
You know, my newest obsession has been crime podcasts, and I don't know why, but sometimes I'll go visit my brother in Arizona, and it just kind of knocks that trip out. So if you're into crime podcasts, there's one called To Live and Die in LA, and that one had me like attached to it the entire time.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Yeah, I listened to a few this year. I think there's one that's been released. It was a guy that was on the Joe Rogan show. I'm trying to think of his name. Tom, I think it might be Tom Gale. He's written a story. It's all about the Manson scenario, which obviously is quite deep. But it's actually more about the kind of the asserted cover up of it since, and who was involved in it. That again, that's crime related, but on a large scale. That took my took my ear for a few weeks. That was very good.
Yeah.
And what sort of music do you listen to when you're smoking?
Oh man, I like to throw it back to Cypress Hill. They have really good cannabis music, and then Janae Aiko has really good sounds, and she also has some really good smoker songs too. She's got a song called Sativa, a song called I'm Trying to Smoke, and then of course my Apple playlist curated reggae stations for good sounds in the background as well.
Oh yeah, it's got to be honest, the next bit was, are you a Cypress Hill or are you more Pink Floyd? But yeah, I'm definitely the Cypress Hill. I like the smoking hip hop sort of sound. But again, I also very much into a real mellow, chilled out sound on a different day.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely brilliant. So obviously you've got your book club, etc. I mean, what else are you currently sort of working on? What are you currently sort of promoting? Is it really going all efforts going into the book club, or is there other things that you could draw the listeners' attention to?
What else that I can mention is that I'm working on apparel, finally getting that up and running, with my website. And then I'm also working on a physical education product. Can't really delve too much into that.
Sure.
And then I'm also working on a platform. So there are some big things coming. It's going to take a bit more time for these products to be released, but the next most exciting thing is the apparel and some fun giveaways coming up that I'm working behind the scenes and planning.
Absolutely superb. Well, what I'll do is I'll keep my ear to the ground on what those are as they sort of come up. And again, if you want to appear on the show again once those are being launched and tell the UK about it, and then I'm more than happy to have you back on as well. That's absolutely superb. I mean, is there anything else that you want to sort of cover at all and get across to people?
Just that if you're somebody who utilizes this product, you do have a responsibility to advocate for it. I'm not sure, what your arrest rates are like surrounding drugs in the UK, but here in America, our violent crime has gone down tremendously, but our prison populations are, all-time highs, and it's simply for the arrest of plants. So I feel if you're somebody who receives benefits from this plant or you just enjoy it, you do have a duty to be a better representation of what the media has portrayed it to be.
Definitely. And I think that was a point that I was going to make is one of the first things I learned from, I watched read this really sort of basic book called CBD oil, very imaginatively titled, when I was getting into CBD. And one of the first things this guy called Frank Cole said is it's the most important part of this industry to make sure you get a robust, trustworthy, and strong industry is actually an educated consumer and customer, and whether that be from a point of view of weeding out the people that are there to make a quick buck, or whether it be, like you say, passing on that information to people that maybe are misconstruing it or misrepresenting it. I think we do have a responsibility, and I've got a lot of friends that because obviously it is still illegal over here, they keep their mouths shut. They don't ever speak about it. But I just think people need to realize that if the more people that come out and start actually sort of advocating and giving their personal experience, the more it's going to break that stigma down, and hopefully there'll be light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the meantime, we've got you.
Me and you.
Exactly. No, that's brilliant. Okay, well, I'm very mindful that I can natter on. I don't want to scare you off. I would like to have you back on the show again. So I think if you're happy, we'll kind of wrap it up there. I really do appreciate you accepting my invite. I put it out there. I've been doing this positive thinking stuff with regards to meditation, etc. And I was like, I'm going to put this invite out there. She's going to come back to me in 5 minutes. And it wasn't quite 5 minutes, but you came back to me. So I really, really appreciate the fact that you did. So yeah, thank you very much for being on the show. And yeah, have a great remainder of the day and keep doing what you're doing. I really do appreciate all the hard work you do over that side of the water.
All right. And thank you for all the work that you do. And I definitely would love to be back.
Superb. Well, have you got anything planned for the rest of the day?
I will be working out tonight with a friend, actually one of my friends from the UK.
Awesome.
We're gonna, kids will be playing and we're gonna be working on our health.
Oh, good
and
stuff.
then I'm also creating some stuff for my course. So yeah.
Awesome. Superb. Okay, that's absolutely brilliant. Well, thanks very much, guys, for listening. I hope you've taken something from that show. Amazing guest. Yeah, thanks very much. Tune in next time. As always, if you'd like to leave any comments, then please do so either in the bio of the podcast, or you can email me at nick, which is NIK @naturalhealthalternatives.co.uk. Like, share and comment, and as always, give the podcast a review if you can. It really does help us to get this message out there. Until the next one, thanks for listening, guys. Peace out. Bye bye.